Hello, Roses. The title of today's must-watch lesson is Feminine Strategy, First Date Tips by the Rarest Rose. That said, this channel is about giving you the tools to be the undefinable Rarest Rose. If you are new, welcome to your journey. Now, let's cultivate the Rarest Rose in you by giving you feminine strategy-based first date tips. I'm sure you've watched plenty of videos advising you that it's not feminine to order anything with garlic by now, right? This is not that. It's nearly 2021, and I think if you've made it this far into your femininity journey, you're ready for some next level dating tips, and you're in the right place. So we'll start by going over those basic tips rapid fire. I'll try to keep it 60 seconds or less before we jump into literal strategy. Here we go. Don't cuss. Chew with your mouth closed. Be polite to staff. Don't get drunk. Don't order something super huge or outrageous. Try not to have a take-home box if you can help it. Don't order something stinky. Stay off your phone. Don't overshare by talking about exes or superficial pop culture topics that have nothing to do with you. Put your napkin in your lap, elbows off the table. Wear a signature scent. Look good. Nails and hair done no matter what. Go easy on heavy makeup. Just make sure your skin looks touchable and dewy and you look well rested. And lastly, weaponize your femininity by wearing a dress in girly fabrics and girly colors. But if that's not your thing, wear whatever makes you feel the sexiest. Remember, play up your best feature and don't show too much. So for example, if you're showing a lot of legs, then cover up the twins. If the twins are on display, be more modest with any other skin you may be showing. Phew. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. Women that are naturally seductive and feminine already do many, if not all, the things on this list without even thinking about it. But don't worry, if you're still in the process of leveling up your game, these things will seem foreign at first, but I challenge you ladies to step outside of your comfort zone and just see what happens. As we go, I'll explain the psychology behind the strategies, and with practice, they'll become part of you like breathing. Keep an open mind, okay? This is the blueprint. Personalize it and make it work for you. So let's get into it. The first date should be happening no more than 1 to 2 weeks after meeting. Anything beyond that, and I'd say he's not serious. During this time, you've done some initial vetting, and now you may be ready for some more, in-depth questions or questions that are better asked face to face. So, who does the asking? Listen, ladies, this whole limbo that many women find themselves in on who should ask who out is absolute madness. He asks, of course. During the time leading up to the date, you've told him, you've worked it into conversation, what you do and don't like, now let him woo you. Let him figure out how to impress you. The only thing I suggest here is to influence him to select somewhere where you both can talk. But if you two would still really rather go for a more non-traditional, action-packed first date, just make sure you both agree to work in some time before or after where you can talk. For the sake of this video, we're using a dinner date example. If he doesn't ask you out in a timely manner, he gets deleted. Bar and coffee dates set the bar too low. you can work around this if you don't decide just to delete him and just be done with it. You can work around it by teasing him, okay? You can say something like, oh my goodness, is that the best you can do? Just say something like, you were sure his taste level is higher than that. Or you can just let him know in advance of his suggestion that you just trust he's going to blow away your expectations. Just be really excited. Just already know he's going to take you somewhere besides a bar or, a coffee place. Any of these things work to trigger him to rise to the occasion. If not, again, deleted, move on. In terms of whether to allow him to pick you up or to meet him there, men typically will offer to pick you up, but since it's the first date, I suggest you protect your privacy and meet him at the restaurant. You can do the more traditional thing, after you feel like you know him, a little better, but even then, I would protect, my privacy for as long as possible. Now let's move on. First dates are about a couple of things. All right. You want to be embodying the feminine fantasy. It's about seduction, giving him the experience of you and your personality, and most importantly, getting him open. It's achieved by a mix of feminine charm and verbal aggression. So we're going to intertwine those two things into these tips. These are strategic tips that are rooted in feminine charm and verbal aggression. All right. So now you're at the date. When you get to your table, this is what I want you to do. I want you to look up at him with a sly little grin and ask if he would like to sit next to you. There's several strategic reasons for doing this on the first date. When you sit across from someone, it amplifies the intensity, and some serious vetting is going to take place on this date. So you want it to feel as little like an interrogation as possible. So sit next to him. This will also put you in close proximity so you can reach out and touch his arm or his hand or even his thigh from time to time when you want to add emphasis to your dialogue. That is hard to do when you're sitting across from someone. This intensifies the attraction. That's the type of intensity you want, not that interrogation style intensity. Now, if you're bold enough and you're traditional and you would like to be sure that he orders for you, either be bold and tell him, could you order the such and such for me? It sounds absolutely delicious. And then for maximum effect, touch his arm while you say it and it gets some eye contact in there. When you touch someone while making a request, they are more likely to agree. Get him ordering for you. It's sad that men just don't do this automatically anymore, but it doesn't mean that they won't. This is part of that feminine mentality. For some of you ladies, that may be a little too next level for where you are in your journey. Don't worry, you will get there. As an alternative, one of my favorite authors suggests getting him to order for you under the guise of a game. So say something like, so since you're going to order for me, give me your pinky. Then stick your pinky out, take his pinky, and bet him he can't guess what you're going to order. Tell him you're going to text it to him right now, but he's not to peek. Then do a reveal before the waitress comes back to take the order. Whether he guesses right or wrong, remember, men, yes, even high value men, are just big kids. They prefer fun over sentiment, and you want to create a low pressure experience because you're going to sink your teeth in when it's time to vet. All right, so don't be afraid to be playful. Either way, you're subconsciously getting him in the habit of doing little things for you. All right. As for drinking, you want to stay coherent so you can remember his answers to your questions and also keep your instincts, your intuitions sober and sharp. If you want, order a drink, a virgin drink that looks like a cocktail, and keep it moving. Alternatively, depending on the caliber of man he is, he may order an entire bottle of wine instead of you guys ordering by the glass. In that case, don't reject that gesture. Just take, little baby sips, and just, make that glass last throughout the entire meal. Let's talk about body language for just a second before we move on to the actual conversation of the date and the psychology behind that. When you touch your own collarbone, your jawline, all right, it makes him imagine touching you. When you play with your hair, it makes him imagine touching you. So, really play up your femininity and do those types of things. And even better, while you're doing that sort of thing, do some eye contact. Don't be afraid to tuck in your chin and look up at him through your lashes, occasionally. That is a deadly combo. All right. You hit him with the 1-2. All right. And lastly, flirt 100% or not at all. There's nothing more anti seductive and cringy, even, than a woman who is not in tune with her sexuality trying to flirt. So, practice in the mirror. Little things like this go a long way, especially when you get into the conversation, which is where we're at now. So, in the first few minutes of the date, you don't want to just jump right into vetting. You want to get him at ease with a couple of lighthearted topics. These don't need to be planned, but what I want you to do, all right, I want you to work in a joke about getting up and walking out. For example, you ask his zodiac and he says, "Oh, I'm a Taurus." Joke about cutting the date short based on that information. I know it sounds risky, but you're subtly ingraining your willingness to walk away under the cover of a joke and at the same time getting him at ease. All right. Some things don't need to be done so direct, things that you want to communicate to him. Figure out a way to put it, under cover of a joke. Like I said, men are big kids. Now it's time to vet him until that main course hits the table. All right. So, if you saw my video on vetting, you should already have an idea of what you need to know by the end of the first date and have formed some questions you can work into the conversation. These questions need to be specific because generic ones, he more than likely, and I can pretty much guarantee this, has already rehearsed some answers to basic questions. Throughout this part, don't talk too much. Ask your questions. If he tries to throw the question back to you, just keep bouncing the conversation back to him. This is an art, okay? Practice the art of cliffhangers, both in conversation, and this is a great tool to use in text message as well. Practice this until it becomes part of your personality. Some people so easily can answer a question without answering it and then change the subject, and you'll be like, what? Practice the art of that, but do it in a way that is feminine. Of course, all of this has a feminine flair, okay? Men that are used to average, basic women that don't have these tools that I'm giving you right now will try to ask you a lot of questions to take the pressure off of himself having to impress you. All right, the more questions he can ask you, the less he has to say, the more you will talk, and he can shape the persona that he thinks will get you into the bed faster. Men even get by for years doing this without ever even really opening up to their significant others. So many women are afraid to ask men questions, You're not going to be in that category. So you control the dialogue without him realizing it. You have to hone your game in this area, okay? Don't be afraid. All right? I'm giving you the playbook, ladies, so there's no need to be nervous and there's no fear of rejection. All right? So form your conversation around that knowledge. Once the meal comes, you can, lift out of interrogation mode and You can move into just personal passions, okay? The questions that you're probably used to asking men on dates, music tastes, books, travel, whatever you like. At the end of the meal, and I need you to hear me on this, ladies, don't you dare, okay? Don't you dare reach for that bill. Don't even offer. Don't even flinch like you're about to. The type of man you want would never disrespect you or himself by asking you to reach in your pocket. Okay? You have impressed him so much by this point. Don't mess it up now by reaching to pay for the bill. In response, men appreciate a simple thank you paired with a smile. No need to go beyond that or make it awkward. If, and this is a big if you're dating the way that we teach here at the Rarest Rose, you somehow end up sitting next to a man that asks you to pay, listen, simply pay your part and block his number on the way to your car. There's no excuse for that. Now, to kiss or not to kiss, this is completely up to you. As for me, I prefer to prolong the anticipation. I find it builds even more attraction. More than likely, you're going to see each other again in another 3 to 4 days or, a week maximum. So it's not like he's waiting forever to kiss you or anything like that. But you'd be surprised how much that intensifies the level of his thoughts on you by just withholding that simple thing. Okay, I opt for a tight hug followed by seductive eye contact as we're saying goodbye. More than likely throughout the date, I've glanced at his lips a time or two, but I don't even go there on the first date. Just do what feels right for you. Now, if you've had a great date, you're going to want to prolong it. You're going to want, he's going to want to prolong it for sure because he didn't get you talking and he hasn't figured out how to get you, into the bed yet. So he's going to really want to prolong it, but don't exhaust each other. Always leave something to be desired. When you get home, a short, simple, I'm home, good night text is fine. Don't hop on the phone and be, talking all night or texting back and forth about the date. Don't do any of that crazy stuff, okay? It's a great first date if he answered all your questions in a way that was impressive and candid. And of course, if you had a great time overall. It's a bad fast date, or it's a bad first date if you detected any dishonesty. Even honest men play games to a degree, but an honest man is not going to hesitate more than a few seconds before answering your questions. Even though you're catching him off guard here and you're asking specific questions and not things he's used to answering. If he's answering honestly, he's not going to take a long time, any more than a couple of seconds, and he's probably making some stuff up. You also want to ask yourself, did his answers inspire you? Can you see yourself with someone who thinks the way that he does? All right. Was he just ranting and not really answering the question? All right. Was he acting annoyed to even have to answer questions about himself? Was he on his phone? Was he rude to the staff? Did he display any of your deal breakers, or, did he reveal anything that gave you, a red flag? Or if you just overall are not feeling him in general, these are all signs of a bad date. Okay, you may even figure that out way, way sooner than the end of the date. And you can do two things at that point. You can either use the rest of the date to continue to work on some riskier vetting questions. Okay, use them as, a guinea pig. Or if you don't think you can even sit through the rest of the date, if it's that bad, that's very rare, but just have an exit strategy. Excuse yourself to the ladies' room, text a friend to call you in 2 minutes, and make like an emergency and get up out of there. Or you guys, they even have apps that will call you if you press the power button twice. Desperate times, desperate measures. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. But all in all, delete his number if it was a bad date. If if you had a lot of red flags. Broken men, broke men, incompatible men are not invited to the roster. All right? Don't date potential. We don't do that here. So, when you use these techniques, you really make yourself absolutely unforgettable. You have no idea, ladies, until you try them. Just make sure you come back and let me know how it goes. And I know this video was long. If you made it this far, please hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel with the notification bell on so that you don't miss future opportunities to level up your feminine mentality. In future videos coming up, we're going to talk about the second and third dates as well as what's going to be happening in between those two dates. And remember, you already are the rarest rose. Now, act like it. Bye.